Hey, good morning. I know you're like, wait a minute. Why is there another podcast? Because this is a bonus podcast. Yay, bonus podcast. But the thing is Ron and I, we went on a walk and we met up with James at Grinder's Coffee House, and he's doing a show. He's doing a show, but that's really not what this podcast is about. Yeah, we're going to mention the show. Yeah, we're going to do some, some promoting of it. But really, the topic, when he started talking to us, we said, oh, okay. Well, we got to get this in. No matter how, we already got things scheduled, doesn't matter. We're going to get it in. It's too important.
Right.
So we're going to put it on here. So, James, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, so the show is The Normal Heart by Larry Kramer, who is a actually, he just passed away in 2020, so he was pretty recent, but very, very powerful, often tenacious gay.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Tenacious?
Often tenacious?
Yeah.
Often tenacious. Gotcha.
Susan Sontag referred to him as America's favorite troublemaker.
Oh, okay.
I
so,
see.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a piece that is loosely based off of. There's controversy with whether it's based off of him. I think it is.
Okay.
If you really, yeah. And then people that were involved with starting the gay men's health crisis.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, it's the 1981, and there's a small group of gay men who are trying to wake the world up to an epidemic that's happening. And
well, I wonder what that epidemic could have been in the 80s,
yes.
right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is AIDS, HIV, and at that time they didn't know. We did in 81. I'm going to say we. I was just born. So, but in 81, it was unbeknownst of what it was.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Like no one knew.
Yeah, nobody knew. Nobody knew how where it was coming from, how it was being transmitted, what
Right.
was going on with it. It was really like, what's happening here?
And then this particular piece follows this man, Ned Weeks, and who is kind of the character that's like Larry Kramer, and he meets this doctor, female doctor, who is also was one of the last victims of polio in the country, and so she is wheelchair bound, and she is treating patients, and seems to be one of the only people treating them or giving.
Oh, anybody gives a flying F about what's happening. Okay, cool,
and
cool.
so, and then it's just like they kind of get together. He forms this group with some of his friends, and then friends of friends, and it turns into the gay men's health crisis, which we have now.
See, and
know.
this is what happens. Ron and I walk downtown all the time, and we go to lunches, and we're saying, "Oh, you know what? Today, let's get coffee at Grinders." We walk in there, and you're working.
Yeah.
So, of course, we chat you up, obviously. We're like, we know this guy. We should probably say hello and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start talking about, I said, what's the new show you're doing? Then you start talking, and then it morphs into this thing where Ron and I are like, oh, well, we have to do a show about this. This isn't just a normal, he's not doing Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, which is a good show too.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But it's like, whoa, wait a minute here, James. You're telling us a lot of stuff that's going on and what's happening here that we felt like this needed to be an episode as well. An unscheduled bonus episode.
Yeah.
Awesome.
In and of itself that needed to be talked about. So this is what happens. See, we should probably stop going out to coffee house because he's going to keep getting on the show.
So this isn't some random show. This feeds into
I mean, it is not entirely fiction, so obviously the characters, and when you see it, are not made up names. They're based off of real people, or they are made up names, but they're based off of actual people. And so but yeah, it's the start of something that became much more, and now is
Yeah, well, like you said, you believe that the person who wrote the show, right, is really reflecting on who he was at the time.
There's a character named Bruce Niles, and that has been it's been published that he's based off of someone who was Larry Kramer's best friend, who they stopped speaking because he had to kick him out of the organization for being too loud.
Oh,
which now
being too loud as in he just wouldn't shut up about getting help.
And that's kind of the interesting parallel is that. This was a time when they wanted to do something, but depending on how you approached it, could get you in more trouble.
You didn't want to ruffle feathers.
Right. And now It's
Like,
the opposite.
what do you
Now
mean
it's
by
like,
that? What do you mean by that? Like,
So-
are you saying you didn't want to say that you were gay, or did
Yeah,
you say,
in 81
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I need stuff really spelled out for me. Like, what do you mean get you in trouble? Like the government's gonna? Or,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
1981, a lot of these men that had position to get any kind of pull were also in jobs where they were in the closet.
okay.
And they were afraid that, and they were afraid, and it is documented that some of them did, in fact, if they found out that they were involved, lost their jobs.
This is why I need you on, Nona,
Wow.
and because I'm
Wow.
I'm just a straight guy. I don't,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't understand some of the struggles. I don't understand what everybody has to go through. So that's why we needed to have this on, and we needed to have you talk because I didn't know that.
No.
I was alive in the '80s. I was just living my stupid little kid life. What did I know? I didn't. I don't know anything.
And I mean, like this show takes place in New York City, so
Oh,
it was a
okay.
lot more loud there. This was something that was, they probably, and not, this isn't fact, but this is assumption that I'm sure everything that takes place in the show was something that was heard about more there, and then it like sort of traveled into the outside states and stuff like that. But so it's coincidental. We are, there have been a few documents, a couple articles and things about they're kind of on the cusp of finding a cure. In fact, a few people
I heard that. That
yeah,
was huge.
a few people have been able to, through like lab samples and stuff, they're no longer, the virus is no longer in their
and
system.
people. I think
Wow.
everybody also
Wow.
just kind of forgot, like it wasn't a big deal.
It is sad. It's like it's fallen out of favor. No one talks
Right.
about it anymore, and that's kind of sad. But now there seems to be a possible.
Right. And like, let's see. I mean, 81 is when they started like getting documented cases, but there's really no one really knows the exact time and date that this.
Of course,
happened.
right?
There's-
People could have been
Yeah.
dying of it for
Yeah,
decades before, and you wouldn't know what it was because, of course, it's an acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So it's some other thing
Right.
that gets you.
Yeah,
you died of
it's-
pneummonia, but it was because of having
There
full blown AIDS.
there's so that with that being something that's coming up into terms, like it's interesting timing. I wouldn't say, I'm not going to use the word good timing, but
Right.
interesting timing that we're doing this show. And what, like, to go along with what you were saying is that we like, not for any reason, just because people didn't care about it, but because of there's so many like medications and things, it's no longer a death sentence. So like no one really thought of it as that.
Oh yeah, we all
And-
just thought, oh, no big deal now.
Yeah, and
now it's
yeah.
not instant death in 5 months.
Right.
Now people can live longer, and so everybody just kind of stopped caring, or at least bringing awareness.
Or, yeah,
and,
or just like paying attention.
paying attention. Exactly.
And we have a whole generation of people who were born into an era where it was in that stage already of like, oh, this thing.
Of course,
They used to be
yeah.
around.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And now it's like, so it's like cool to do a show like
this
this.
thing that used to be around is
Yeah.
exactly the right statement. They think it was something that, oh well, that's solved. That's solved. We're
and
we're
it's still
cured.
there. I mean, it's something. It's doesn't. There is actual to tie into that. There's my favorite line in the whole show. The Dr. Emma Bruckner. It's her line, and it's in a scene she's talking with the main character. About like trying to figure out what is this thing, and she has this line. She says that she's referring to herself and her with polio,
polio,
and
yeah.
she says that polio is a virus too. Nobody dies from polio anymore.
Oh jeez.
And it's like, that is like so interesting because like this show was written, years ago. It's not a new show by any means, but it's been revived. And then, so just to have that poignant line in it now when it's on the cusp of being like how polio was, where it's like now it's pretty much cured.
Yeah,
and,
a lot of people think, well,
know,
it's not a bacterial infection; it's a virus. You can't solve it or whatever. But that's
Right.
not true. We have solved
Yeah.
virus problems as well.
And then with of course we're dealing with a
Right.
virus issue currently in our so and so I don't know, so yeah, it's just it's one of those
Now I'm going to ask you a question that's completely straight-minded because I don't know stuff. Now, do you think that like because I'm a straight guy and it was less of was it more like in the gay community more top of mind?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I mean, so for me, I didn't really think about it very much. I didn't know if it was still like a real top of mind issue in the gay community. So.
I mean, it is, but it's one of those ones that like, it once it started looking like we were coming, into the light of like it not being so bad.
Yeah.
Like, in this show takes place, like there's characters who they get diagnosed in like timeline wise, not even a month,
Yeah.
and they're gone. So,
Wow. Well, that was definitely a problem. That was definitely a problem in the 80s
Yeah.
and in the 90s where it was like...
And it was a terror. It was horrifying.
oh, it was a
It
horror
was
movie for sure.
scary.
But I
Scary.
think the real problem was the fact that, well, I'm straight, so it doesn't matter to me. So there's that whole attitude of, well, go ahead, that doesn't affect my life. And then when it started to actually all of a sudden affect their lives, then all of a sudden they gave a crap. And so I wasn't sure if that was the issue, like, oh, now it's starting to go away more, and now the straight population is like, oh, well, who cares? We'll go back to having unprotected sex all over again.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully not. There's
Right.
several things that are
obviously.
also concerned.
Well, but
for
I
that.
think as a straight guy, I think that was the attitude,
Yeah.
though. I think we had that attitude
Yeah.
of, it's no problem. We got it under control.
It's not so much in the stage production, but like in the film adaptation that came out a few years ago. There's a scene with a government official who is, you can definitely tell that he is getting to the point that he did, in fact, have unprotected sex with like a hooker or something, and he's not feeling so hot these days. And he's
Now
like,
he gives a crap.
and now he's all of a sudden very concerned that this is this something that only someone in the gay community can
There was
get.
a film, so I didn't know there was a movie about this.
Ryan Murphy directed it, and actually it's a star like Mark Ruffalo, Julia Roberts.
The Hulk
yeah.
is in this movie.
Yeah.
Julia Roberts, what?
Yeah, it's
Don't tell me she played the hooker.
It was HBO original. No, she's Dr.
Because
Emma.
that would have been funny.
No, she plays Dr. Emma, and it actually does a really amazing job.
Oh, okay. Okay, so she's
but-
in a wheelchair throughout
Yeah.
the... Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really-
Man, Julia Roberts and Mark Ruffalo was it?
Yeah,
And I
it's-
don't even know it's a movie.
It was more of
I
like
gotta
a
really
'cause
pull
it
my
did-
head out of my...
It wasn't like a it was HBO original. So if you have HBO Max, you can
Nice.
watch it on there.
So is it newer?
I want to say like 2000.
Oh, yeah, so newer.
It's newer, but it's not like brand
Holy
new.
crap,
Like,
we are 22 years into the 2000s, aren't we?
Yeah. But yeah, it's
Cool. So, but don't go see the movie. Come see your thing.
well for sure, yeah, and also like just shameless. It's one of those. This is one of those shows, and like obviously I know we're not pitching the show here, but it's one of those shows that like as a director you go into the project slightly terrified that you're not going to get the people that are really going to find the passion in the project, because this isn't something that you can just do. You've really got to like this material
Gotcha.
and feel a connection to it. And we were insanely blessed with a cast that has like every rehearsal, it's like we all fall more in love with the work, and in fact in some scenes have to like take a break
I believe
Oh,
it.
the
and
emotion.
have like let's just give each other a giant hug right
Yeah.
here and
Yeah.
make sure we're all doing okay, because it is that's really the only thing I'll give away from our production is you definitely won't be
Yeah, it's another
You'll be moved.
lighthearted
Yeah.
musical
Oh, yeah.
put on by Stone
Oh,
Productions.
yeah.
it's another what we do best.
Is it a story of compassion? Is there a lot?
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, here the thing is it deals with very serious subject matter. At the end of the day, it is very educational and eye opening. But it is a love story.
Oh.
The main character and his lover. It follows his lover's decline in health. So there's a lot of heart to it too. It's not just like let's just hit you with facts and figures and like
Well, it's called The Normal
heart.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So it is in fact a love story. And it isn't all like a dark cloud of sadness. There is I'm not going to tell you it's not a comedy by any means, but there are some like moments. The character that I play in it is like someone, Jim Parsons originated revived the role on Broadway and then played it in the movie as well. And he's the direct quote. He's the Southern bitch of the show.
I like how you did that voice.
But yeah, he's based off. I mean, something we all know in the theater community is Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. So the character of Tommy Boatwright is based off of Roger McFarlane, who started Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS.
So that's the thing. So when you started talking to Ron and I, and then you said, "Oh, we're getting an organization involved," that's when we really perked up and said, "Okay, we gotta have you guys." Who is this you're working with? Then?
So it's AIDS Resource Center, ARC, and what a chapter of the center we're going to do. At every performance, there's going to be someone or a couple people from them. They're going to be in the lobby of the theater. They're going to have information out, hotline numbers, because there's several things that go into this too. Like it's, like grief counseling,
right? Yeah.
Mental health awareness too for it. Just anything that can help someone who's either going through it, living with it, or knows someone who lost someone to it. There'll be information for them with that at the performances. We are hoping, it was something that I was hoping I could get confirmed before today, but we're still playing. It's
right. We're recording this early, yeah.
And we're playing also. It's a thing you will obviously play phone tag with and doing anything like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. Who am I?
Right.
Direct community theater. So. But we would love to after the Sunday matinee, we would love to have a talk back.
Beautiful.
Absolutely for sure, like a panel with a couple cast members, but mainly with people from the organization and with
What's the organization's name again?
It's the AIDS Resource Center.
Is that local or is that national?
We have
local branch of a national thing.
We have
gotcha.
In Toledo we do, and then and even with human rights campaign and things like that, we're opening up. Equality Toledo will be a part of.
Okay.
With something with that, we definitely want to make. I mean, obviously, this was something that was a national scare, but it was very much a big part of Toledo's queer culture and gay community in the 80s and into the 90s. The 90s is where, that's the thing, is the show takes place from 81 to 84. That's the timeline of this performance.
That's definitely not when AIDS ended.
No. That was
kept going after 84.
By 84, I'm going to say 1981 when the show takes place. This is documented. This is not how there. I'm sure there was way more, but documented it was under 200 cases.
What?
By 1984, it was into the 7,000.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
And then by 1990, we were over 150,000 documented. So, and I say
it was
documented,
just like you said, just paying attention and even recognizing that it was a thing. Like you had said, decades before, people could have been dying from it, but who knows?
Right, and modern medicine's come a long way.
Right.
When I say documented, I mean I know that's a term that many people listening can sync up with today, because that's what the last 2 years all we've heard is documented cases of COVID, this and that. That doesn't mean that there's not more. That's just what we so same thing with this is it was that's how many that were documented. It's
yeah, I mean they got to go in, they got to get the positive results on everything to even be counted.
And sometimes, and there was a lot, I mean, and then going back into not just the show but in real life in that time period, there's a lot of. And this is something that unfortunately we're still doing. There are still people who probably have never even been tested,
right?
Because they're terrified of what the results could be.
Of course.
And in the 80s, it was also
the answer's no unless you ask and find out it's yes, right?
Right. And then in the 80s, it was something they were. Some people just The sad thing here is some people didn't even have time to do it, because it hit them so fast that they didn't even need. They knew what was happening. There was in the 80s and 90s there was groups of gay men specifically. They would have these quote unquote parties, if you will, and that's what it was. It was basically like a birthday party, but like a going away party.
Yeah, I saw some stuff. Stephen Fry was talking about this on a podcast or on a documentary I was watching. He was talking about how the number of friends that he lost to AIDS, and he brought that up, the going away parties. Really, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You knew going into it. your family member, your friend, or when you left that party, you knew what was going to happen. They didn't want to die painful or ugly, so they usually just
It was a going away. Yeah, it was a going away,
just-
and
cow.
basically say goodbye, say your piece, and then the next time you see me, won't be.
yeah.
Well, I won't be here.
Well, this is tough.
Yeah, no, but I thought it was very important to have you on. I thought it was great to have
Proceeds, donations.
We so for that, absolutely. Obviously, we started selling tickets already. We were like, to do it with ticket sales, it gets really like hard to like track all that down, especially with nonprofit things like that. So we're gonna do any kind of like donations at the performances, things like that. We're gonna definitely do. And then with ARC is just like the main one that I knew right away to like get,
Of course,
like,
yeah.
reach out to and make connections with. But we're still, as we go, we're trying to find more. And like I said, not just like something so direct, but even the ones that like have to do with more branched out things. Like, this isn't just something that's like that only affected like the gay community. There's, all kinds of things that go in with this now.
Right.
Like,
So anybody who just like cares at all is who you want to have
Right, and I
contribute and
mean-
help to this kind of thing.
And also, I mean, for that, as far as like the like proceeds and things like that go, I like absolutely. And so hopefully anyone who's listening to this would hear that too, and will like maybe like come like get
reach
in
out.
contact with me. But we want to do like, and it's nothing for us. Like I don't want my theater company to like, it's not a sponsorship for us or anything like that. Like that's not it. It's for that organization, that group, anything that will help do that. Mainly just, and also like just to open eyes back up to, this isn't just something that was like a part of history that's no longer a concern.
Right.
Like it's definitely still a concern.
But hopefully it will be just a part of history.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
Hopefully soon, and with groups like yourself and people just bringing awareness to it and maybe raising a couple pennies here and there even to help contribute, it could be just a part of the history books.
Yeah, we have a really diverse group of people playing these roles too, which was something that was very important. Not to like sidebar here, but
No, it's fine. I also want you to tell you when the show's going to be. So people know.
Yeah. It's April 22nd through the 24th.
There you go. Where?
At the Collingwood Arts Center.
Thank
We're doing
you.
it in the Underground Theater, so it's going to be more
sweet.
intimate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely like that was something that's super important. It's
April 20.
2nd through the 24th.
Thank you.
Yep. 3 performances, 8 o'clock, and a 3 o'clock.
Okay.
3 o'clock is the one that we're hoping to do the talk back with.
Mm-hmm.
And then the great thing with the Underground is it's basically just a giant empty space. You do whatever you want with it. And so what we want is, because this show isn't fiction, it's real life. So I don't really want the vibe of like you walk in, you sit down, there's the stage, all that. It's kind of like the audience is going to be kind of seated everywhere.
Wow.
So it's not necessarily in the round, but pretty close to that kind of a concept.
Interesting. More like in the stage.
Yeah.
You're
like,
all
yeah.
part of the stage.
The actors have all been informed that, that whole idea of how when you're on stage and you can't see the audience, that's not a thing.
That's
They're
not
going to
a
be
thing.
very
They're
much
gonna
like
be, they're gonna be right
there.
next to you. Yeah. I just went to Cutting Edge's show, and Micah Graber was like 1 foot from me.
Oh, yeah,
It was
yes.
great. It was great.
I
I
did get
actually
to see-
really liked it.
I got to see that too. It was really good.
Something like that. So that's great. I love what you're doing here. So again, I just want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for squeezing us in,
Of
obviously,
course.
in a very short notice. Ron and I just walking up to you and being, dude, we need to have you on, and then you just show up like 4 days later. So that's great. So go see the show, people. Okay, go support the cause. It's obviously very important, and there's going to be a lot of people who you know and love in this thing, and people that will be affected by this. So, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we're changing gears a little bit here. As I say, please go and give us a review on iTunes. I know it's like, why he's so lame after something like this to even mention going there, but it's important. It's important because it gives us nice ratings, bumps us up on the charts, gives us a little bit more recognition, and keeps us going as a podcast. So again, if you like us, give us a rating, write us a review. Always a bonus. We love the written reviews. Thanks again for listening, and tune in Friday. We got a really cool episode coming up. I think you'll like it.